Okay, we have everything laid out in the score, and in this section we're going to be adding interactivity to our movie. The first thing that we want to do is hold the playback head at frame 1. We want it to stay there. We don't want it to go on into nothingness there. So we go to our Make Matches cast, which is where we have our hold on current frame behavior. We drag that into the behavior channel at frame 1. Now our movie will just loop on frame 1, which is what we want it to do. Now, we have our Start Over button, but our Start Over button is not going to do anything unless we attach a behavior to it. And the behavior that we want to attach to Start Over is the Restart behavior, which will cause all of the labels and draggable objects to snap back to their original position when we press it. So we drag that on top of Start Over. To restart and drag it on top of Start Over. There are no parameters, it just restarts it. Okay. Our next step is to add our matching interactivity, but before we do that, let's close this. We need to make note of where our squares and circles are, because we're going to have to tell these draggable objects which sprites will serve as matches for them. Okay, so we need to know which sprites will serve as matches, and we do that by selecting them in our score here, and we can see that sprite channel 10 contains a square match. Sprite channel 11 contains a circle match. 12 is our composite image, but we aren't going to really match that. We're going to match the simple shapes. And so in channel 13, we have another square match. And in channel 14, we have a circle match. All right, so we write that down so that we remember which ones are square matches and which ones are circle matches. And we'll show you why in just a sec. All right, now that we've done our homework, we can start adding the Make Matches behavior to our draggable objects. And remember, our draggable objects are the circle text, the square field, and the small circle bitmap. All right. So starting with our circle, all right, we're going to add the Make Matches behavior. Now we could go to our cast window, and let's do that. Take our cast. We're going to take Make Matches, this behavior, and drag it on top of circle, all right, the circle text in 20. Now, this parameters dialog for this behavior is a little more complicated than some of the other ones that we looked at. But once you understand it, it's not too hard. This first checkbox is asking us if we want to use a mouse down sound. In other words, if we click on this circle, do we want it to do something, to say something, right? And we do. We want it to say circle. So we say yes, we want to use that. The next thing is a pop-up menu that asks us, well, what sound do you want to play when you mouse down on it? And if we look, it shows us all of the sounds available to us in our cast, and the one we want is circle, and that just says circle. The next checkbox asks us if we want to play a custom sound when we get a correct match. In other words, if we drag circle over a circle, do we want it to play something in addition to the doot-doot-doot-doot sound? And we do, so we say yes. And then it asks us what sound do we want to play when we have a correct match. And we want it to play, yes, that's a circle. And that is the yes circle sound cast member, so we select that from the pop-up menu. It asks us now if we want to play a custom sound when incorrect. For instance, do we want to play, well, we do want to play a custom sound when incorrect, and that custom sound is the not the I'm sorry. The custom sound is the sound that says no, that's not a circle. All right, so that's if we drag it over a square or something. We want to say no, that's not a circle. So we check that to say yes, we do want an incorrect sound, and this is the incorrect sound that we want to use here. We select under a pop-up menu, and that is no circle, which says no, that's not a circle. Now, This is why we did our homework, because it's asking us for the matching sprites. What sprites is Circle going to respond to when we drag over it? Well, we found out that sprites 11 and 14, all right, channels 11 and 14 are Circle matches. So we say 11, comma, 14, and there does have to be a comma there. It says comma to delimited list, all right? So all of our matches, we could have, a dozen, things that it could match to, but we only have 2 right now. So we write 11 and 14, all right? Now it's asking us what handler do we want to execute on the correct response. So when we make a correct match, we can have it call a particular handler. And by default, it's going to call the handler GreenLight, which is found in our in our responses movie script. And what GreenLight does is it just causes this light to light up, and it makes that tinkly sound. You could replace this with something else, but for now, we're just going to use GreenLight. You could replace it with another handler that you wrote that maybe keeps track of how many times they got a right response or something like that. But like I say, just leave it at GreenLight for now. The next thing that it's asking is what do we want to serve as our non-matching sprites? For instance, which ones do we want to be wrong when we drag over it? And we want anything that's a square to be wrong. And we found out from earlier that sprite channels 10 and 13 contain square matches, and that would be wrong if we drag a circle on top of it. So we write 10, 13. The handler that we want to execute on the incorrect response is, by default, set at red light, and again, that's contained in responses here. And what it does is it lights up the red light and goes like that. Okay, so we just leave that at default. But again, you can write your own handler and enter that handler here, call that handler here, and it would do that. But we're just going to stick with green light and red light for now. We say OK. Let's rewind and play our movie to see what it looks like, because we should have one that works. Say plus. All right. Now we can take our circle. Notice now we have a hand over our circle. We don't have it over the other two because we haven't added that behavior to those other two, but we have added it to circle. And if we click on circle, it says circle. And if we drag it over the square, it gives us an incorrect response. No, that's not a circle. If we drag it over circle, we get a correct response, and it'll stay stuck there. Yes, that's a circle. And if we click start over, it'll start over because we added a behavior to that as well, right? And it does. It moves back to the beginning. So we can stop our movie. Now we can do the same thing for our circle bitmap. All right? It's going to have all the same matches as our circle word. We want it to match the circles and not the squares, and we want it to say the same things. So we can configure that exactly the same. So let's select that, which is in 22. Okay, and let's attach the behavior make matches. So we're going to add make matches, and we can select that from the pop-up menu here. So we click on it, and we say make matches. We're going to use a mouse down sound. That mouse down sound will be circle. We're going to use a correct sound, and that will be yes circle, which will say yes, that's a circle. We want to use an incorrect sound, and that's no circle, which is no, that's not a circle. Our matching sprites are going to be 11 and 14. We want to use the green light handler. And the non-matching sprites are going to be 10 and 13. And again, we want red light to be our default incorrect response. So we say OK. We can rewind and play our movie. And once again, we will have the same sort of interactivity if we click on circle. Notice now we have a hand. If we click on it, circle. It says circle. If we drag it on top of a square, no, that's not a circle. It gives us an incorrect response. If we drag it on top of a circle, gives us a correct response, and we can't move it now. we can click Start Over, and it goes back. For our final behavior, we're going to add make matches to sprite 21. Stop here. Sprite 21. Sprite 21 is our square label, and if we attach the behavior to it, we're going to say use a mouse down sound. Yes, we do want to use a mouse down sound, but this time we want it to say square. We want a correct sound, and that's going to be yes square, and that's going to say yes, that's a square. For our incorrect sound, we're going to say no square, and that'll say no, that's not a square. For our matching sprites now, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be 10 and 13, because that's where our square matches are. We leave the correct response handler at green light. And our incorrect responses are going to be the circle matches, because we have square now. So we put 11, 14, leave red light, say OK. Now when we rewind and play our movie, we should have interactivity for the square as well. And we do. If we click on it, it says square. And we drag it over square. Yes, that's a square. And it says it's a square. So we can stop our movie. And now we have pretty much everything set up. We've got our whole movie set up, and you can use use things the same way. You can press play. Automatically goes back to the beginning. Okay. Now, one of the things to keep in mind too is that the reason why you have a bitmap here, the utility of that is you could have a picture, like for instance this one, and you could have a big blank spot here, right? And what could be your draggable object is what would be cut out from this object. Like I could have cut out that and put it over here, and then in order to make the match, you'd create a shape there, a simple shape to serve as a hotspot, but it would basically be just a big white spot. And by dragging the piece that was cut out on top of it, you could fill it in. All right? So that's kind of the utility of the shape. Of the bitmap being able to match, as opposed to these text ones, which are pretty self-explanatory.